Another episode of Was It Worth It? This time it's some Chipotle. The total was $34.56. So this is the kids menu. It comes with beans, rice, and a cheese quesadilla times 3. So we got 3 of those. 1, 2, 3 apple juices. 1, 2, 3 little bags of chips. We got this bowl, a burrito, and a side of guac. So was it worth it for $34 and some change for all this food? Another episode of Was It Worth It for this Guapo's Tex-Mex. Total is $57.41. So there's a whole bag of chips, a cheese quesadilla with some rice, looks like some sides, a kid's meal with some chicken fingers and some rice, some more sides, some chicken fajitas with some beans and rice. Here's some vegetable fajitas with some rice. These are the fajita wraps, and there's 2 of these. And finally, some more sides, some black beans, some refried beans, and some salsa and some guacamole. So was it worth it? $57.41 for all this food. Another episode of Was It Worth It for this Chick-fil-A. $2.49 is the total. We got 1 large fries and 3 packets of ketchup. So was it worth $2.49 for this? Another episode of Was It Worth It? $30 for this Wii console I found at a yard sale today is the total. It comes with a power brick, a nunchuck controller, and 2 Wii Motion Plus controllers, as well as the console, the TV hookups, the sensor bar, a copy of Wii Sports, and all the documentation. So was this worth $30? Another episode of Was It Worth It for this Domino's food. $21.14 is the total. We have some Parmesan bread bites and 1 large cheese pizza. So was it worth $21.14 for all this food? Another episode of Was It Worth It? I got all this at a garage sale for $20 today. I got 1 PS2 that is not working, a bunch of PlayStation 1 games, 2 Game Boy Colors that are working, a bunch of Game Boy games including 2 Pokemon, 2 PlayStation 2 controllers, and 1 Game Boy case. So was it worth $20 for all these video games? Another episode of Was It Worth It? $24.05 for these 2 Domino's pizzas, 1 veggie and 1 cheese. $24.05. Was it worth it? Another episode of Was It Worth It for this Italian food? $45.16 is the total. We have 1 order of buffalo wings, 1 small pepperoni pizza, and 1 large mushroom pizza. So was it worth $45.16 for all this food? Another episode of Was It Worth It? $43.17 for this Chinese food is a total. We have 1 chicken lo mein, 1 chicken with mixed vegetables, 1 tofu with mixed vegetables, 1 chicken with broccoli, some white rice, and some brown rice, soy sauces and fortune cookies, and 2 salted caramel cookies. So was it worth $43.17 for all this food? Another episode Was It Worth It? $100 for this Ambernick portable game console is a total. It comes with a 3.5-inch screen, a 64GB memory card filled with 2,500 games for various consoles, a battery that lasts 8 hours. It has 4 L and R buttons, a headphone jack, 2 USB-C connections, a D-pad, a start and select button, 4 action buttons, and 2 analog sticks. It comes with a screen protector, user manual, and Wi-Fi support. And here's an example of one of the games. So was it worth $100 for this portable gaming system? Another episode of Was It Worth It? $32 a total for these garage sale finds. I got 1 Super Nintendo with 2 controllers, a copy of Super Mario World, a copy of NCAA basketball, Final Fight, Roger Clemens MVP Baseball, SimCity, and 2 DualShock 3 controllers for PS3. So was it worth $32 for all these video games? Another episode of Was It Worth It? $530 for the Steam Deck is the total. Comes with 256GB of storage, access to the Steam store with hundreds of games, an AMD Zen 2 processor, and a 1280 by 800 7-inch screen. So was it worth $530 for this Steam Deck? Another episode of Was It Worth It for this Chinese food? $37.80 is the total. We have 1 chicken lo mein, 1 chicken with mixed vegetables, 1 order of vegetable dumplings, 1 tofu with mixed vegetables, some white rice, some brown rice, and some soy sauce packets and hot mustard and fortune cookies. So was it worth $37.80 for all this food? Another episode of Was It Worth It? $7.89 is the total. So we got 1 slice of cheese pizza, another slice of cheese pizza, and then for dessert we have this cookie sandwich. So was it worth $7.89 for all this food? Another episode of Was It Worth It? $63.39 is the total for this Pokemon Snap game. It features beautiful graphics, 214 Pokemon to take pictures of, and 24 exciting courses to choose from. So was it worth $63.39 for this game? Another episode of Was It Worth It? For this pizza and chicken wings dinner from Pisano's. $36.01 is the total. We got this cheese pizza, this pepperoni and mushroom pizza, and these chicken wings. So was it worth $36.01 for all this food? Another episode of Was It Worth It? For this Chinese food? $58.40 is the total. We have a tofu with mixed vegetable dish, a chicken with mixed vegetables dish, some other broccoli and something dish, I'm not even sure what this is, some chicken lo mein, some brown rice, some white rice, and a whole bunch of soy sauce and fortune cookies. So was it worth $58.40 including tip and delivery for all this food? Another episode of Was It Worth It, $35.65 for this Chipotle dinner. We got 1 cheese quesadilla kids meal with rice and beans, 1 chicken burrito, 1 chicken bowl with guacamole, 1 vegetarian burrito, and 2 apple juices. So was it worth $35.65 for all this food? Another episode of Was It Worth It for this Panera food, $36.82 is the total. We got 1 chicken salad, 1 Cobb salad, 1 vegetable soup, 1 chicken soup, another chicken soup, 4 apples, and 4 pieces of bread. So was it worth $36.82 for all this food? Another episode of Was It Worth It for this Noodles & Co., $42.14 was the total. 1 chicken with zoodles and vegetables dish, 1 Japanese pan noodles with mushroom and tofu, 1 kids meal with butter noodles, broccoli, and applesauce, another kids meal with cheesy noodles and broccoli, and a chocolate milk and an apple juice. So was it worth $42.14 for all this food?